countless animals have vanished from the earth, whether through mysterious circumstances, natural extinction, or human activity like overhunting. Just imagine if these creatures were still roaming the planet today or could somehow be brought back to life. Wouldn't that be incredible? Here are 15 extinct animals that might still be alive. Number 15. Dodo. Another extinct flightless bird, but with very few similarities to our friend the moa. The dodo was about 1 meter tall and may have weighed up to 17.5 kilograms. Unlike the moa, the dodo was born with wings but may have neglected to use them for flight due to the availability of abundant food sources at ground level. Predators were also relatively absent on their native island of Mauritius, east of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean. The first ever recorded mention of the bird was in 1598, and the last in 1662. Granted by sailors and invasive species, and with its habitat destroyed, the dodo had no chance. Their extinction wasn't immediately recorded, however, as many believed they were simply a mythical creature. 19th century research of the remains of 4 specimens put paid to that theory, and since then, a large amount of subfossil material has been collected on Mauritius. There's also some evidence that the bird may still be alive, with night vision video uploaded to the internet showing what appears to be a live dodo walking past an iguana in Costa Rica. Whether the video is authentic remains to be seen, but it certainly got scientists scrambling to secure DNA evidence and subsequent confirmation of the find. Could dodos have lived that long in Costa Rica without being discovered? Only time will tell, I guess. Number 14. Megalania. Is this giant goanna that inhabited southern Australia really extinct? Named Megalania, or ancient great roamer by paleontologist Sir Richard Owen in 1859, the massive reptile is believed to have died out around 50,000 years ago. But is it feasible that the subtropical rainforests of Australia could still be home to the gigantic marauding lizards? If these Jurassic Park-like beasts are still alive, what has stopped them from unleashing hell on visitors to the rainforest? With a reputation for being vicious, the Megalania is believed to have roamed the wilds of Australia for many years, with Richard Owen describing the beast as a terrible reptile and an ancient giant butcher. It certainly seems absurd that these monster lizards could exist in stealth and not be found, captured, or killed. But scientists believe it is possible. There have also been sightings, both in the latter part of the 19th century and the early decades of the 20th century, each sounding very much like surviving examples of the Megalania. These sightings aren't confined to Australia either, as some have reported seeing a large lizard in New Guinea. So if you're ever taking a trek through the subtropical terrain of Australia or parts of New Guinea, it might pay to be vigilant and keep an eye out. Number 13. The moa. There were once 9 species of this now extinct flightless bird. The moa was native to New Zealand and could reach about 12 feet in height with its neck outstretched. When Polynesians settled in New Zealand around 1280, bird numbers were estimated at just below 60,000. It was initially only hunted by Haast's eagle, but between 1320 and 1350, the Maori arrived in New Zealand in several waves, and it's believed that the moa became extinct around 200 years later. This was mainly due to overhunting. Scientists at Harvard University have assembled the first nearly complete genetic material of the little bush moa. This achievement moves the field of extinct organisms closer to the goal of de-extinction, effectively bringing vanished species back to life by slipping the genetic material into the egg of a living species. Stuart Brand, co-founder of the nonprofit conservation group Revive and Restore, believes de-extinction probability increases with every improvement in ancient DNA analysis. The aim of the research is to resurrect vanished species, including the passenger pigeon and the woolly mammoth. It's all very exciting. For the moa, whose DNA was reconstructed from the toe bone of a museum specimen, there may need to be a little more genetic tinkering and a lot of egg, but scientists are confident it can be done. Number 12. Megatherium. This giant ground sloth roamed South America for some 5.3 million years before falling victim to mass extinction. However, some rainforest natives believe it may still be alive. The Megatherium, or at least something very similar, has apparently been seen roving through the forest trees. The elephant-sized sloth was believed extinct. However, in 1788, an interesting find raised questions about that theory. Archaeologist Manuel Torres discovered a rare fossil specimen on the banks of the Luján River in eastern Argentina. Although he didn't recognize it, he believed it was worth investigating further. Torres sent it to the Spanish National Museum of Natural History in Madrid, Spain. It was assembled and mounted for display, and it was here that it caught the eye of French paleontologist Georges Cuvier, who decided to explore its anatomy and taxonomy further. He managed to create a more complete picture of the Megatherium's history, publishing a paper on it in 1796. In the paper, he theorized that the giant sloth may have been an early ancestor of the modern equivalent. Further study confirmed its habitat, diet, and reproductive cycle. The Megatherium lived in large groups, had very few predators, and a tolerance for most food types. it was able to migrate and thrive all over the continent for millions of years. So how did such a resilient mammal die out? Or did it? Number 11. The Tasmanian tiger. The thylacine, or Tasmanian tiger, is believed to have become extinct in 1936. However, mysterious sightings may suggest it is still roaming the earth. According to documents released by the Tasmanian government, there have been 8 sightings of the tiger in the last few years, with the most recent in July of 2019, when a man found what appeared to be a Tasmanian tiger footprint in Hobart, Tasmania. The carnivorous marsupial is believed to have eaten kangaroos, wombats, and sheep. However, it was hunted to extinction in the 19th century by British settlers in Tasmania. The last Tasmanian tiger died in captivity in Hobart's Beaumaris Zoo on September 7, 1936. Or so we thought. A document released by Tasmania's Department of Primary Industries, Parks, Water, and Environment last year calls into question their extinction, with several experts and hunters thinking the species may still be alive. As well as the footprint discovery in Hobart in 2019, a couple saw an animal they were 100% certain was a Tasmanian tiger near Carina in 2017. Another sighting in February 2018 in western Tasmania described a large, cat-like creature with black stripe markings on the back of its body. As the tiger supposedly went extinct, there have been more than 400 reported sightings, with the Tasmania Parks and Wildlife Service investigating all of them. None have yielded any definitive proof, but surely it's only a matter of time, don't you think? Now it's time for today's topic. In May 2025, a National Geographic deep-sea expedition launched an autonomous submersible drone 3,600 meters below the surface near the Mariana Trench. The mission aimed to study bioluminescent life, but what the drone captured left scientists speechless. Roughly 5 hours into the descent, the drone's infrared sensors detected movement just beyond its spotlight range. As it pivoted to investigate, its cameras revealed a massive silhouette gliding silently through the blackness. When the drone's lights briefly illuminated the creature, it turned, revealing glowing red eyes that reacted aggressively to the sudden brightness. The shark, unlike any known species, displayed traits of extreme deep-sea adaptation: pale, nearly translucent skin, no pigmentation, and highly sensitive eyes that shimmered when exposed to artificial light. It measured approximately 22 feet long, with serrated teeth and unusual dermal ridges along its back, resembling prehistoric designs. Marine biologist Dr. Lena Vasquez, reviewing the footage, stated, "This is either an evolutionary outlier or something we've never cataloged before, possibly both." The footage is now under scientific review, but researchers believe this apex predator may have evolved in isolation, hunting in pitch-black trenches using minimal movement and total silence. For now, the shark has no name, only a nickname whispered by the team, the Abyss Watcher. Number 10. The saber-toothed tiger. One of the most prehistoric mammals, the saber-toothed tiger was not related to either tigers or other modern cats. This might come as a bit of a surprise considering their obvious likeness, but they were more robustly built. The saber-tooth had particularly well-developed forelimbs and exceptionally long upper canine teeth. These teeth were adapted for precision killing and required a jaw with a bigger gape than those of modern cats. Unlike modern predators, which rely on speed and endurance, the saber-toothed tiger was built for ambush hunting, using its powerful limbs to wrestle prey to the ground. Its canines, while deadly, were surprisingly fragile and required precise placement to deliver a fatal bite, often targeting the throat or soft underbelly of its prey. This specialized hunting style may have contributed to its extinction, as it relied heavily on large herbivores that began to disappear during the Ice Age. Fossil evidence suggests that saber-toothed tigers lived in a variety of habitats, from dense forests to open grasslands, adapting to the prey available in each region. Some researchers believe that their social behavior, possibly similar to modern lions, may have helped them survive in harsh environments. However, their reliance on specific prey and environmental conditions likely made them vulnerable to the rapid climate changes of the time. The last of the great cats are believed to have died out with the close of the Ice Age. However, there is some evidence that calls that theory into question. In 2002, a surprisingly young fossil jaw with links to the big cat was found in Europe at the bottom of the North Sea. This find has scientists searching for answers and delving into the saber-toothed tiger's intricate family tree. Painstaking genetic analysis of the jawbone has now confirmed the theory that the big cat lived in Europe much longer than previously believed. Paleontologists thought it had died out 300,000 years ago, but radiocarbon dating of the North Sea jawbone suggests that the species was still prowling around Europe as early as 28,000 years ago. DNA evidence backs up the estimates. Today, all may not be lost for the saber-toothed name. A new and improved big cat could have filled the niche of its extinct predecessor. In fact, experts say there are at least 4 different families of animals developing the saber-like canines as a hunting adaptation. Number 9. Platypus fish. The platypus was first encountered by Europeans in 1798 and was described as an amphibious animal of the mole species. Today, the semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal is the sole living representative of its family. One of those members was the platypus fish, a prehistoric fish that had some similarities to its duck-billed, beaver-tailed ancestor. The ancient fish, native to Australia, has been reconstructed by paleontologists. Using fossils that date back millions of years, a picture has now been painted of the strange-looking fish that once swam on the seafloor like a stingray and had the long bill of a platypus. Its bill, much like the modern platypus, is thought to have been used to detect prey in murky waters, possibly through electroreception. This unique adaptation would have made it a formidable predator in its ancient environment. The fish's flattened body and wide fins suggest it was well suited for gliding along the seabed, much like modern rays. Paleontologists believe it may have fed on small crustaceans and other bottom-dwelling creatures, using its bill to sift through sediment. The discovery of this fish has provided valuable insights into the evolutionary history of the platypus lineage, showing how its ancestors adapted to aquatic life over millions of years. It also highlights the incredible biodiversity of ancient Australia, which was home to some of the most unusual creatures ever to exist. It might not be a living example, but it's certainly lifelike. Scientists examining the fossils found in limestone around the Lake Barungibai Dam at the head of the Murrumbidgee River say that they could date back to the early Devonian period, more than 175 million years before the first dinosaurs. The fossils were discovered in 1969 and were considered the strangest species of fish found in the ancient ecosystem. Number 8. The Megalodon. It would be difficult to think of anything more terrifying than coming face to face with an enormous shark in the deep, dark depths of the ocean. But imagine, if you will, meeting up with one of the biggest sharks to ever grace the planet. The Megalodon is believed to have lived over 2 million years ago. Its behavior and physical attributes are similar to that of the great white shark, but its size is significantly larger. A typical great white would measure no longer than about 16 feet long, whereas the Megalodon could have measured as much as 70 feet. That's one massive shark. Fossil evidence suggests that the Megalodon had jaws powerful enough to crush a car, with teeth the size of a human hand. Its bite force is estimated to have been over 40,000 pounds, making it the most powerful predator to ever exist in the ocean. Some scientists believe that the Megalodon may have been a warm water species, which could explain its disappearance as ocean temperatures cooled during the Ice Age. Others argue that its extinction was hastened by the rise of smaller, faster predators like orcas, which may have outcompeted it for food. Despite its extinction, the Megalodon continues to capture the imagination of people worldwide, inspiring countless documentaries, books, and even blockbuster movies. The idea of such a massive creature lurking in the unexplored depths of the ocean is both thrilling and terrifying. In their day, the Megalodon would have mainly dined on whales and would easily have been the king of predators in the ocean. Changing global climate conditions and increased competition for a dwindling food supply are believed to have caused the Megalodon to die out and eventually become extinct. But there have been reports that the monster still lurks below the ocean's surface. What was believed to be a megalodon tooth was dredged up in 1875, and Discovery Channel has featured several episodes about the prehistoric species, documenting scientific research that it may not have been extinct for as long as first thought, if at all. There's even footage of encounters with a large shark, including one that is believed responsible for capsizing a South African charter vessel. This information may not be conclusive, but these sharks did exist, and it's not impossible that an undocumented species of the Megalodon does still live in the ocean. Now that's scary. Number 7. Irish elk. A giant deer that once inhabited parts of Europe and Asia may soon walk the earth again thanks to advances in cloning. Skeletal remains of the Irish elk have been found in bogs in Ireland, with most carbon dated to around 7,700 years ago. Although sharing the elk name with the living species we see today, the Irish elk is not believed to be closely related at all. According to Mother Nature Network, there have been many well-preserved fossils of this majestic 7-foot-tall creature found, which make it an obvious candidate for experimental cloning. Scientists are particularly excited about the potential to study the behavior and ecology of the Irish elk in real time, something that has only been possible through fossil analysis until now. The creature's massive antlers, which could span up to 12 feet, would make it a striking addition to modern ecosystems, though questions remain about how it would adapt to today's environment. Some researchers believe that reintroducing the Irish elk could even help restore balance to certain habitats, much like the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park. However, others caution that bringing back extinct species could have unintended consequences, such as competition with existing wildlife or the spread of ancient diseases. Advances in cloning technology have also sparked debates about the ethical implications of playing God with nature. Still, the possibility of seeing this Ice Age giant roam the Earth again is undeniably fascinating. If the cloning is successful, the Irish elk will essentially be resurrected, and many scientists believe this could become a viable option in the future. But some extinct species will make better candidates than others, with ancient animals preserved in permafrost during the last Ice Age topping that list. It certainly could be an experiment worth keeping an eye on, that's for sure. Number 6. Cave bear. About 25,000 years ago, during the peak of the last glacial period, the population of prehistoric cave bears dwindled to a trickle. Not long after, there were none. Once a flourishing species commonly found roaming the high alpines of Europe and Asia, the cave bear stood close to 3.5 meters tall when rearing up and had a very similar skeleton to the brown bear. Today, a new study has found their DNA continues to live on, with findings revealing between 0.9 and 2.4% of modern brown bear DNA comes from the ancient cave bear. This discovery has sparked debates about how we define extinction and whether it should be viewed as a complete erasure of a species or simply the end of its physical form. Some scientists argue that the survival of genetic material means that species like the cave bear are not truly gone but exist in a fragmented, diluted form. This raises fascinating possibilities for conservation, as it suggests that even extinct species could leave a lasting legacy in the genetic makeup of their descendants. It also opens the door to discussions about de-extinction, where ancient DNA could potentially be used to bring back lost species. However, ethical questions arise about whether humanity should interfere with nature in such a profound way. Could the revival of extinct species disrupt ecosystems or create unforeseen consequences? This information may well rewrite the world's understanding of extinction and whether it should be considered absolute. The word extinct may now be thought of as old-fashioned, as scientists say the fragments of an animal's gene pool can survive for tens of thousands of years after its disappearance. This genetic material can continue to live on in modern-day animals, effectively blurring the lines between the extinct and the living. Research has shown that Neanderthal DNA is present in modern-day humans. This fact alone creates more questions than answers, wouldn't you say? Number 5. Mokumbembe. According to legends, the Mokumbembe is an amphibious, dinosaur-like creature that lives in caves, digs in riverbanks, and feeds on elephants, hippos, and crocodiles. Now, it's common knowledge that dinosaurs died out long ago, even before man roamed the earth. Why they died out has often been called into question with all manner of theories surrounding the sudden extinction of the giant creature. Rumors of their continued existence continue to circle the globe. Over the years, expeditions have been launched into the dense jungles of the Congo Basin, with explorers claiming to have seen large, reptilian creatures or heard strange, unidentifiable sounds. Some locals describe the Mokumbembe as being similar to a sauropod, with a long neck and tail, and insist that it is a real animal, not a myth. Cryptozoologists have even collected eyewitness accounts and blurry photographs, though none have provided conclusive evidence. Skeptics argue that these sightings could easily be misidentified animals, such as large monitor lizards, or even elephants seen from a distance. Still, the mystery persists, fueled by the remoteness of the region and the lack of thorough scientific exploration. The idea of a living dinosaur is undeniably captivating, keeping the legend alive in popular culture. They have captured the public's imagination for well over a century, with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle publishing a book about the suggestion. The Lost World follows the survival of dinosaurs in modern times. The book is set in the remote Venezuelan jungle and inspired the Jurassic Park movie series. These may all have been based on fiction, but some people believe there's some truth to the rumor that dinosaurs still linger, hiding in the remote jungles of Central Africa. But although the suggestion is certainly intriguing, it seems almost impossible that a reptile the size of a T-Rex, for example, could be hiding in plain sight somewhere in the world. Therefore, with no scientific proof of an African, dinosaur-like animal, the Mokumbembe is now considered merely a 20th century creation likened to a modern-day Loch Ness monster. Number 4. Siberian unicorn. If you ever thought that unicorns were simply the stuff of fairy tales, this little tale might have you reconsidering. The Elasmotherium is a large rhinoceros that is now extinct. It is believed to have died out as late as 39,000 years ago. Known as the Siberian unicorn, it was the size of a mammoth and is thought to have had a large, thick horn on its forehead, quite unlike the rhino we see today. Recent studies of fossilized bones and DNA testing have confirmed that these 4-ton animals could have met our ancestors. In fact, some researchers speculate that early human encounters with the Elasmotherium may have inspired the unicorn myths that persist in cultures around the world. Cave paintings and ancient carvings depicting large, horned beasts lend some weight to this theory. The horn itself, believed to be made of keratin like modern rhino horns, could have been used for defense, digging, or even attracting mates. Its sheer size and presence would have made it a formidable creature in the Ice Age landscape. Additionally, The elasmotherium's ability to survive in harsh, cold climates suggests it was highly adaptable, thriving in environments where few other large animals could. This adaptability might explain why it survived far longer than previously thought. Thanks to leaps forward in technology, a complete skull at the Natural History Museum was dated and found to be less than 40,000 years old. Previous estimates dated the rhino's extinction at around 200,000 years ago. This information is regarded as pivotal in natural history and confirms the species survived until at least 39,000 years ago. When they were alive, the Siberian unicorn would have been one of 250 species of rhino. Today there are just 5, so although the rhino may now be extinct, its ancestors are not, getting further fuel to the belief that unicorns are real and still roam the earth today. Number 3. Aurochs. An ancestor of the domestic cattle we see today might just make a comeback. The auroch lived throughout Europe, Asia, and North Africa until 1627, when the large and wild species became extinct. Scientists now believe they may be able to bring it back through selective breeding of cattle that carry a portion of auroch DNA. This would make for an interesting crossbreed, given the bovine measured up to 7 feet tall. European science teams have been selectively breeding cattle since 2009. They hope that by breeding and selecting offspring that show more auroch-like traits, that they will eventually recreate something very similar to the lost animal. The process is known as backbreeding and was first attempted in the 1930s by German zoo directors Lutz and Heinz Heck. While the Heck brothers' efforts were groundbreaking, modern genetic tools and DNA analysis have given today's scientists a significant advantage. By studying ancient auroch bones and extracting genetic material, researchers can now pinpoint specific traits to target in breeding programs. This includes not only size and horn shape, but also behavioral traits and even coat color. Some of the cattle used in these programs are rare breeds themselves, adding another layer of complexity to the project. The process is slow and meticulous, requiring patience and precision to ensure the desired traits are passed down. Despite the challenges, the potential to see a creature resembling the auroch roaming the wild again is a tantalizing prospect for conservationists and animal enthusiasts alike. Their creation was a mix of domestic cattle and fighting bulls from Spain. Now known as the Heck cattle, it took only 12 years to achieve. The brothers focused more on size and aggression than on being faithful to the structural description of the aurochs, hence why Heck cattle aren't considered actual recreations of the extinct species. Some argue that bringing extinct species back is unethical, others believe it is their duty to do so. Whatever your opinion, there is one benefit to competing backbreeders. In their drive to bring one species back, several others are almost certain to be created in the process. It's a win-win, really. Number 2. Woolly mammoth. The Ice Age had many memorable creatures, but the one who leads the pack is the woolly mammoth. Based on best estimates, the legendary mammal was reported extinct around 2000 BC. Standing at an imposing 11 feet tall, weighing up to 6.5 tons, and with imposing tusks, this character would be pretty noticeable. So why has this timeline been called into question? A sighting by a Frenchman in the 1920s of a huge elephant-like creature, plus an intriguing find in 1948 and other sightings since then, may well be legitimate. In 1948, a frozen mammoth was discovered in Siberia, completely intact. What made this discovery even more fascinating was the preservation of its fur, which still retained its reddish-brown color, and its tusks, which were in pristine condition. Scientists were able to extract DNA from the specimen, sparking discussions about the possibility of cloning the species. Further studies revealed that the mammoth's diet consisted of grasses, shrubs, and other vegetation, which were still present in the frozen contents of its stomach. This provided a rare glimpse into the Ice Age ecosystem and how these creatures thrived in such harsh conditions. Over the years, additional frozen mammoth remains have been uncovered, each adding to the growing body of evidence that these creatures may have survived longer than previously thought. Some researchers even speculate that small, isolated populations of mammoths could have persisted in remote areas like Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean until a few thousand years ago. After close examination, its meat was found to still be fresh, a fact that adds further speculation to the rumors that these giant mammoths may still be living amongst us. There are many cold regions on the planet that are not populated by man and considered too dangerous to explore. Do you think it's possible that mammoths could be living in these isolated parts of the globe? Number 1. Coelacanth. When it comes to extinction, barely any species is exempt. There are even several fish on the list, including the primitive-looking coelacanth that is believed to have exited the Earth at the same time as the dinosaur. Essentially, this means that the fish hasn't been seen for 65 million years. But this may not be the case. In 1938, a South African museum curator discovered what appeared to be the bizarre lobe-finned fish while on a local fishing trawler. This reignited the debate surrounding its extinction and set the world of science alight. What made the discovery even more astonishing was the fish's unique anatomy, which included limb-like fins that hinted at its evolutionary link to terrestrial animals. Its discovery was hailed as one of the greatest zoological finds of the 20th century, sparking a wave of expeditions to locate more specimens. Over the years, additional coelacanth have been found, proving that this living fossil had somehow survived undetected for millions of years. The fish's ability to remain hidden for so long is attributed to its deep-sea habitat, where few humans venture. Its slow metabolism and nocturnal habits also make it an elusive creature, perfectly adapted to its environment. The coelacanth's discovery has since inspired countless studies into its biology, offering scientists a rare glimpse into a lineage that predates the dinosaurs. The elusive deep-sea creatures were believed to live at depths of up to 2,300 feet below the ocean's surface near the Comoros Islands off the east coast of Africa and in the waters off Sulawesi, Indonesia. These living fossils can also be huge, reaching 6.5 feet or more and weighing almost 200 pounds. Scientists estimate that they can live up to 60 years or more, hiding in underwater caves by day and venturing out to feed at night. Throughout history, countless animals have roamed the earth, many of which never made it to our time. And we're not just talking about prehistoric giants like dinosaurs. Imagine being able to travel back in time to witness some of these incredible extinct creatures in their natural habitats. Which one would top your must-see list? Let us know. And don't forget to check out more amazing content popping up on your screen right now. See you soon.